Good afternoon and welcome to the Pleasure for Health podcast. My name is Ailsa Kepi and I am excited to be with you again. It's been a little bit of time since we were here live streaming. And if you are looking for more episodes, you can find them all logged on my website, pleasureforhealth.com. So I wanted to dive into a topic today that is coming up more and more in today's world around the idea that order and tying things up neatly with a bow and getting it all sorted and organized is the best and most efficient way to be alive, to be in a community, all of those things. And it's recently been made more and more obvious to me that this actually is life killing rather than life affirming. This idea that we can just organize ourselves into a beautiful future is actually kind of counter to everything that has been known about life and love and all of procreation and recreation and all of that. So I wanted to kind of talk about that today. What does chaos have to do with Eros or love or procreation, making a new world, having a new relationship, all of this kind of thing. So I'm excited to talk about this today because it brings up kind of uncomfortable feelings, and I think that's always interesting when you bring up stuff that makes us kind of squirm in our seats. So if you're squirming in your seats, buckle up because we are going to have an interesting discussion. And hello to those of you joining. It would be great to have you here with me. So let's look at the idea that when we talk about falling in love, most of us have had some sort of experience of that kind of feeling of falling in love. Does it feel to you when you've had that it's something that feels good and organized and you can kind of explain exactly what's happening? I would guess that that probably is not the case. I know when I've had feelings of falling in love, the reason we say falling is because it does feel chaotic. It feels like you're falling, like you've lost your ground and you're suddenly in this kind of void of unknown, right? You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know even what you feel, what they feel. You just kind of know that you're almost enjoying that feeling of being totally out of control. And I would say that that brings up a very interesting thing in that, in our current dating world, many of us kind of spend a lot of time, trying to figure out exactly the person that we will match with, that we will be able to partner with in the most organized and economical and making logical sense way. And often those are exactly the people that we have no chemistry with and that we just can't seem, they look perfect on paper, but we just can't seem to get any spark going. And I would say that often this is because there's something unknown about love and about procreation and about relationship. When we're really surrendering to those types of feelings, there is something ultimately chaotic about that, something really unknowable. You have to kind of fall. You have to be willing to let go of the ego place of, well, I know what's going to happen and I know that we both have this great job and we have same interests and we are doing this and everything looks perfectly organized, but that isn't giving us that feeling of excitement, that passion, that kind of Eros magic of relationship type of feeling. And it's quite normal for that to be the case, that we don't actually find love. We don't find true love by organizing ourselves into it. So this idea that chaos really has to do with the origination of the earth, really. In mythology, chaos was that the thing that was there before anything else. It was this space that was there, and so it's not really that it's the opposite of order, that's the opposite of organized kind of place. It's just the unknowable beginning. And out of that chaos came Gaia, who we call Mother Earth, the kind of mother of all, Tartarus, the underworld, Nyx and Erebus, which is night and darkness, and of course, Eros, the kind of love, ended up being kind of known as Cupid. So the god of love kind of thing. So all of these emerge from chaos as children of chaos, and they have relationship to chaos. And we put love there and Eros as, alongside things that have often been seen as darkness, the night, the darkness, the monstrous, the mother of all of those things kind of create something about life force, about life-giving kind of magic. And it's interesting because what I would say is, when I work with couples, so I do often work with couples and do relationship coaching, as much as people would like to just have a simple answer, well, here we're not connecting very well, or we're having difficulty with intimacy, give us step 1, 2, and 3, and how do we fix this? And the answer that I, unfortunately often have to give these people is that it's about letting go of the answer, right? It's about finding the chaos. It's about being okay with desire, which has something to do with Eros. What do we desire? Well, your desire is not something that makes logical sense. Your desires most likely are quite illogical and don't seem to make sense at all. And yet there they are, right? There they are. And they come up in our relationships, and they fuel that feeling of Eros and that being in love. So if you want to create more Eros in your relationships, if you want to have more passion, and that, you need to be willing to go to the places of darkness in your own self. And I'm not saying that it's evil, but you can't fall in love with just your persona that you would like people to see, right? If you're going to fall in love, you're going to get to know each other on a deep level, and this includes all of those deep and dark parts of yourself that we typically want to hide from the rest of the world. And this is exactly what we're bringing up, is that you can't have those beautiful loving relationships when you're only seeing each other's external kind of nicely made up version of yourself. So what are your deep and dark desires? What do you dream about at night? What do you wish you didn't but find exciting? What are those kind of things that call to your very soul? And even what kind of you could almost say sadistic kind of ways do you push people away, or do you even have to kind of guard your own soul in a way, so that you have this balance between the beauty and the all those lovely things that we see about relationships, where you're smiling and you're laughing and you're having cuddles and it's all good, with that part of you that maybe hates other people, or that part of you that wishes you could be mean, or just you don't want maybe to hurt your partner, but sometimes you need time to yourself, and sometimes that is shocking to other people, and those feelings are all going to come up in your relationship. And if you can deal with that and work that into your relationship, when you come together, there will be a lot more life force, a lot more passion. You can't really have passion when you're just playing nice and when you're just planning, right? So if you've ever sat in a group of people that have been, kind of small talk, you've probably all been in those types of parties where everyone's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to get snow later. And yeah, I'm getting tired of that too. It's just small talk. And then potentially maybe you get into, you've had a couple drinks or something, and all of you get into some sort of deeper conversation, and maybe you start really telling the truth of who you are. And those are those nights that you all remember. Potentially those are the nights you don't want to remember, but you went somewhere together, you got into the deep and dark stuff, and you're connected, right? This is how a lot of those type of cults work too, because it bonds you together. It brings up some kind of passion, and we've shared something when we've really gone to those other places. And so, this is actually necessary if you want your relationship to have connection and passion and desire. That you can't be ordered about it, you can't necessarily plan it all, you have to be willing to let that go and to get into these dark nights of the soul kind of places sometimes, not all the time. So we're not trying to be all the time in a dark place. It's not about being depressed. In fact, depression is actually the opposite of what I'm talking about here. Depression and anxiety, all of those types of things are actually you most likely trying to block yourself from actually feeling some of what the passion and the deeper, darker desires that you might have actually are. So I would suggest that, when somebody is, getting into those darker kind of stuck places, there's actually a need to help and support that person to feel more deeply into what it is that is truly calling to them from their soul. And it it won't always be pretty. It'll be sometimes pretty messy. And it may be that, that trauma that you haven't integrated, and it may be that those feelings of guilt that you had about whatever it is you feel, and those things have to be integrated. They call for a place in you, in your life. And so it's a dance, right? Because of course we don't want all of us walking around acting on our most dark, deep and dark secretive desires. This might make for too much excitement in the world, but we definitely need a balance of this. And so creativity comes from this combination of chaos, this empty kind of void, and then Gaia is potentially that procreative mother-like force, and then there's Eros, which is that passionate desire, love energy. When all of those kind of dance together, we have an amazingly artistic, imaginative, creative life that will invigorate not only yourself but those people around you, and potentially give us new direction in the world today. So when I look around today in the different political countries and where we're noticing what's happening, it's kind of this real split between order and this chaos, and we're not seeing a lot of integration of all of this. And so we're seeing a lot of pushing away the darkness, pushing away. I don't feel like that. I'm not mean to people. I don't have these dark desires. I don't, it's all the other, it's all over there that they have all of those darkness. But I would say that we, in pushing away and in doing all of that, we have to own that we all have that. That is part of this chaos. That's part of this night time of our soul where we actually need to integrate that. So it's interesting when we all start pointing the finger at everyone else, saying that group over there is the horrible group, dark sadistic group, and we're the beautiful pleasant, polite, cultured group over here. And we're killing our own selves that way. we're killing our own self. And we need to find a way to work together with all of these aspects of ourselves so that we don't have to project all of this onto other groups around us or other people or out there in the world. So I just thought that was interesting, even to contemplate the idea of what does that feel like to fall in love? And how would you bring that feeling of falling? Not that you want to have it all the time. There's something very comforting about having stability and safety too. But you can't be safe and stable and actually fall in love. Falling in love in and of itself is this jumping off the cliff into chaos kind of feeling. So if we want to fall in love with our future, if we want to fall in love with our partner, if we want to fall in love with ourselves or our life, we have to be willing to and courageous enough to step out of safety, to step out of comfort zone, to step out of all of these aspects that are so well ordered, and actually jump into this unknown, this chaos. So I know that's maybe not the most comforting way to begin your Sunday, or to kind of think about relationships, especially though, when you go online and you're like, well, I just want to put my nice, neat profile and I want to meet someone else who has a nice, neat profile and we just have a nice, neat profile together. Like that, unfortunately, is not going to be very exciting and or passionate and or have much desire in it or life. So, potentially see if you can take yourself back to that time, maybe the first time you fell in love, and just how did that feel? And how could you allow a little bit of that, just a drop of that, to come into your life now? If you were to fall in love with that sunset, if you were to fall in love with making your breakfast, how would that be different than, counting the calories and putting out the exact amount of food that you should eat? What would it be like to just fall in love with that? Many movies have taken this idea too, like Chocolat comes to mind, just the idea that what if you just ate some chocolate? What if you allowed yourself to have that passionate desire come up? Would that give you the life force to really come alive, and to also to be open to potential creativity? So I know that was kind of maybe a very interesting topic to take as far as relationships are concerned. But what would happen if you really allowed yourself to fall into that way of thinking, that way of being with your partner? If you are currently in a relationship, how could you bring that? What if you just woke up and looked at your partner and wondered, what do I desire about this person? What am I passionate about? What if I was to fall in love with them right here, right now, in this moment? How would I act? We ask ourselves things like, what if I was to die tomorrow? What would I do? It's that kind of a question. If you were, if you didn't have more than an hour, what would you do with your partner? What would you say to them? How would you act or be? You wouldn't care so much about making it all neat and tidy, I'm having the feeling. So there's your challenge for the rest of Sunday, is to find something that you might allow yourself to have a little bit of an opening, a little drop of chaos and Eros. Chaos, Eros, and maybe you bring Gaia and the night and the dreams and all of that into it, and see what happens to your day. And if you feel like letting me know, I would love to hear how that goes for you. And if you feel like listening to more of my podcasts, which are usually just reflections on life and love and relationship, feel free to check out my website at pleasureforhealth.com. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you today, and I look forward to having you with me again. Have a great day.